Greetings and salutations there. Wearing a different shirt because people are always telling me why I keep wearing the same shirt all the time. I'm sorry I've not posted many videos the past week and a half. I've been so insanely busy burning the candle at both ends, as the expression goes. It's been actually incredibly radical how much I had been burning the candle at both ends. Part of the reason why I'm making this video, and it hints upon things I've discussed in the past, is this video upsets a minority of incredibly unintelligent people that are real soul-denying nihilists. One of the fundamental psychologies, and I don't like psychology at all, behind the soul-denying nihilists is that they therefore then are ultimately responsible. This desire for cosmic oblivion is, to them, in a type of messed up mentality, a release, and so they don't like hearing about the soul. They're interested in a type of morality, which is its own sort of belief system, but they superimpose this upon Buddhism and original, and when I say Buddhism, I'm always referring to the original article. They will tell you that there's never positive appellations about the soul, and that's absolutely not true in doctrine. What they will do is they'll point to, and I've been translating ancient Pali now for over 20 years. These people, by the way, that want to have confrontation with me about this, they don't translate Pali. They've never read doctrine. And what they'll do is they'll either quote their own opinions or quote the opinion of somebody else who wrote a commentarial book or booklet or lectures on Buddhism. It's like, well, what are we discussing here? That's how you always get them and beat them in a debate, is that they can never actually discuss the topic that they're so adamant in confronting you on. It's like, well, what are we discussing here? It's like, well, I just got done quoting you Zen Master Bada Bing, about the soul. It's like, well, we're not discussing that person's opinions, feelings, or beliefs, nor yours, nor mine. If we're actually discussing what Buddhism does or does not say, we actually have to quote doctrine. Well, what they'll do is that they'll actually point to, and it's a type of Indian metaphysical analysis. It's called asti, nasti, and that translated means is there or is there not. They'll say, well, Buddhism never answered positive affirmations. They say, it says when asked about this, he was silent. When asked about that. And while those occurrences are correct, there are countless thousands of passages in Sutta of positive affirmations such as the soul, regarding the soul, Samyutta Nikaya 5.154, Digha Nikaya 2.100, Samyutta Nikaya 3.42. These are all the same passages. Dwell with the soul as the light, dwell with the soul as a refuge, with none other as a refuge. In ancient Pali, that is Atta Dipa Viharate, Atta Sarana Ananna Saranam. Not that you can understand Pali. It's been an ancient dead language now for a long, long time. But Atta Vasrati, the soul is a charioteer. That's Anguttara Arakara 1341. There we go. Mahavaga 3270, with the Atman, which is the soul, as one's true nature, Svabhava. One's true nature is the soul. Also, too, the notion of liberation is completely non-existent. They'll point to liberation. It's like, well, liberation of what, by what, and from what? And they're completely illogical. Nothing they say is backed up in doctrine. They actually can't be logical, wise, or intelligent. And I am, and I don't say that egotistically, nobody can debate me on the Dharmanada. It has 576 occurrences. I know all of them. It is never used in a pejorative fashion. Samyutta Nikaya 3.196. Anatta, Venerable Lord. What does the word anatta mean? Just this, Radha. Rupa nata, Veda nata, Sankara nata, Vinya nata, Sanna nata. The psychophysical is not the soul. You see, when the question is asked in 3.196, what does the word anatta mean? And the word anatta is never a standalone. Their A, B, C, X, Y, Z are anatta, are empty of selfhood. There's no such thing as emptiness, by the way. That's something else so-called Buddhists love to talk about. Emptiness. Well, there's no such thing as emptiness. It is purely an irrational concept, and nobody can even conceptualize emptiness because it would have no attributes, and if you remembered it and experienced it, then it wasn't empty to begin with because there was somebody in it, that being you or somebody else. So it's an arbitrary concept with no basis in reality, and nor does it exist that way in doctrine. Not that I'm interested in this video being about emptiness. A, B, C, X, Y, Z are empty. A rock is empty of water. Unless it's a hollow geode full of water, which I've actually broken those before. This is empty. The desert is empty of lush, well, we have oases. Something is empty of something else. So speaking about nirvana or liberation is completely impossible. What is actually liberated from the psychophysical? Who works for whose own good? And I'm not interested in giving my own opinions here. I could give you countless passages. I don't know how many you're really interested in me making reference to, but Atta Vasarati, the soul is charioteer. Bhava Nirodha Nibbana, by the way, the subjugation of becoming means nirvana. Bhava Nirodha, the subjugation of becoming. Nibbana means nirvana. This is absolutely identical in meaning to Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta Vritti means perturbations of the nous or spirit of sanctum. Yoga is meant in application, and I think you know what the word yoga means. Yoga is Chitta Vritti Nirodha, the subjugation of noetic or nous or spirit of sanctum perturbations. Yoga is the subjugation or ending of perturbations of the nous. Suvimutta Chittasa on the bottom. The thoroughly liberated chitta means nirvana. So, if there's Udana 81 passage 2, which states specifically, I'm trying to remember the exact passage, says, if there was not an unborn, an unformed, an unmade, O followers, there would be no escape for the born, the made, the formed. In other words, yes, Udana 81. The well-centered chitta is the path for attainment of Brahman. That's Samyutta 4.118. This is immortality. Amata. Who do you think immortality is in reference to? It can't be a reference to the psychophysical. This is immortality, that being the thoroughly liberated chitta, Suvimutta chitta, which does not cling after anything. Majjhima Nikaya 2.265. Steadfast in the soul means one is supremely fixed within the chitta, or the nous. That's Sila Kandavaga 1.168. Here we go. This is really one of the most paraphrasable cores in original Buddhism. That's Majjhima Nikaya 1.436. Whatever forms, feelings, perceptions, experiences, or consciousness, i.e. the psychophysical, i.e. the five aggregates, these he sees. The Sotipanna, the stream enter, someone is seeking after wisdom and transcendence, sees these as without permanence, anicca, dukkha, anatta, without permanence, as suffering, as ill, a plague, a boil, a sting, a pain, an affliction, as foreign, as otherness, as empty, shunyata, as without self, anatta. Actually, it's anattato. It's a compound of anatta. So he turns the chitta away from these. The chitta is not any of the temporal things. And gathers his chitta within the realm of immortality. Amatya datya. Realm of immortality would not be any place that the psychophysical, i.e., the corporeal aggregates, could go or could attain to. So these people are illogical. They're fools of the highest order. They can't think clearly at all. They can quote you, Zen Master Bada Bing, who wrote some sort of book on, something. The Buddhism of emptiness, or, one of these miserable little, by the way, miserable little books. That's actually a direct quote from Caroline Augustus Foley Rees Davis, one of the co-founders of the Polytech Society. The most prolific Pali to English translator who ever lived. I also, too, was a member of the Polytech Society. She called these books, and they were even prevalent back in the early 1900s, she called them miserable little books on Buddhism. In other words, just sectarian, dogmatic filth, which had no resemblance to the original article. So these people can never debate the topic to save their own lives. It's completely impossible. You'll see stuff like this, and I've seen it 1,000 times over the decades. And this is, you know, the blathering spew of some sort of commentarial nonsense that you read. It'll say something like this, and here's one example. Anatta. This is a Pali word that means no soul, translates as no soul. Let's look at it again. This Pali word translates. It is never used in that fashion in doctrine, not in any passage. I know all 576 occurrences. Literally, if you want a list of all 576 occurrences, I have it. I'll email it to you too. I know right where that file is. So you can't make claims without substantiation. That's what these people do. It's like a drive-by, you know, in the mafia, they do a drive-by, you know, the cars speed by at high speed and then they lean out the window. They just do a drive. They can't debate the topic to save their life. They have nothing intelligent to say about it. Their claims are just that, claims only. They have nothing by which to support themselves. The genuine, true egoity is that they think that they're talking about Buddhism when they quote themselves in their own little brain farts on the topic, or they'll quote Zen Master Bada Bing or somebody like Thich Nhat Hanh or a Theravada materialist. I got a quote from a Theravada materialist, by the way. Now this is where we talk about personal view. This person teaches stuff. This is the Theravada materialist and author, by the way, Nyanataloka. This is Nyanataloka's exact words. Thus, with the doctrine of selflessness, big capital meaning no soul, no soulism, which I know is not a word. Thus, with this doctrine, in which there is no such passage anywhere within Sutta, nowhere within original Buddhism, nowhere does this exist. Thus, with this doctrine of selflessness, or anatta, stands or falls the entire structure of Buddhism. Now, I'll agree with the last part, because that's the only thing these people think makes Buddhism like it's original. It's like, you got all that Hindu stuff out there, and we got Buddhism over here. Well, there's no such thing as a religion of Hinduism. Hinduism, it's not my opinion, it's a fact, refers to a people, not a religion. Okay? There's no such thing as a religion of Hinduism. There's Kashmir Shaivism, Advaita Vedanta, Dvaita Vedanta, there's Bhakti Yoga, there's followers of the Gita. There's a million different things, faiths and beliefs. There's no such thing as a religion of Hinduism. It doesn't exist. But you see, if you actually put forward this no soul nonsense, which is non-doctrinal, you know, they think that it is something, it's like, and if you remove the soul, you remove ultimate subjective liberation, which is completely impossible and antithetical to, you know, amatya datya, immortal realm. It's antithetical to the premise of nirvana. It's antithetical to liberation. Liberation of what, by what, from what. If you are nothing other than the psychophysical, then the highest thing that can be done is pathetic morality. Say there's only one person on this entire earth. It's you. You know, like the whole world, like, died off or something. What good is morality? Who are you going to be moral to? Morality has nothing to do with liberation, transcendence, and wisdom. You know, without a soul and without something to attain, and as a subject of wisdom and transcendence, because liberation in any translation of the Pali Nikaya is absolute paramount. They think that liberation is like, you know, a fart blowing out a candle in the deepest dark of space. It's like, there's liberation. It's cosmic oblivion. It's like there's a big toilet bowl lever in outer space, and you just flush it, and you just flush yourself into oblivion, and this is liberation. So they'll actually superficially attempt to confess to liberation, but nobody obtains liberation. It's just like cosmic oblivion. It's like, oh, really? Where do you find that? Tell me the book and verse that's ever mentioned in any translation. Of course, they can't. And then you get back to the same thing once again. It is impossible to keep these people on topic. They will never, ever, it's like, well, let's have a discussion about Buddhism. Okay, so what's the reference for discussion about? Well, they wiggle and squirm like an eel on a hot plate. They will never, ever confess to the point of reference for discussing Buddhism to be its own teachings. And the Nikayas are pre-sectarian, by the way. Those yellow-robed guys in Southeast Asia, Laos, Burma, Thailand, so on and so forth, those guys didn't even exist until the 3rd century CE, which was about 750 years after the passing of the historical Gautama. That's not original to Buddhism at all, so These people can't debate the topic to save their life, not even a chance. So, they can't translate Pali. They'll quote any modern-day commentator, but they'll never quote doctrine. Because nothing in doctrine supports that insanity. Absolutely nothing. You know, I can find 1,000 books and 1,000 commentary passages from miserable little bloggers and, you know, foolish nonsense. They'll say, well, the word anatta means no soul. This is like the Pali word means. It doesn't occur that anywhere. There is no standalone of anatta. Not in any compound. Now there is one word in Pali which is a compound, and is natata, which means there is no soul. It only occurs twice within sutta, and that's called heresy. Yeah, it's called a heresy. And these people will ignorantly, and unfortunately, due to lack of understanding and the fact they don't understand anything, they'll say, well, believe in a soul is sasadavada, which they translate as eternalism, but sasadavada literally means again and again becoming. It refers to hopping. And the belief in karmayana, the fact that there's no escape from samsara, the only thing you could do is do better, you know, make a better life or better next life. In other words, there's no escape. It's just the roller coaster of becoming and rebecoming. And they'll say, well, this refers to eternalism, and it doesn't. Sasadavada never makes reference to the soul. It makes reference to karmayana. So, I know all their sneaky little tricks. They don't have many tricks because nothing in doctrine actually supports them. So, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing whatsoever. He's like, ask, what's the subject of liberation? Silence. You'll hear crickets. There's no answer to that. What's the subject of liberation? To them, in the foolishness of the entropy of the non-operational defunct mechanics of their mind, there's only 6 things, well, 7 things really. Ignorance of what, by what, and due to what. And the 5 khandhas, rupa, vedana, sama, sankhara, vijnana, and liberation. So there's ignorance, the psychophysical, and liberation. That's all there is to these people. Well, ignorance is not a thing. There's no such thing as ignorance. No one's ever seen happiness. Happiness is an attribute someone has. Like, a person's happy. No one would ever say, happiness. Happiness, who was happy? No, happiness. So there's no such thing as ignorance. Ignorance is not a thing. Ignorance is an attribute something has. So the beginning of Paticca Samuppada is avidya. Avidya of what, by what, and due to what. That's a matter for another video, of course. You know, liberation of what, by what, and from what. You know, liberation but no liberant. And the way they get away with it in the delusion of the foolishness that is so enveloped and swallowed them is it is cosmic oblivion. That's the liberation. It's not actual liberation. It's just like a cosmic toilet flush into oblivion. If that were the case, then it would be better to suffer infinite transmigrations for all time in perpetuity and suffer in the process than it would be to undergo cosmic oblivion is completely impossible. But these soul-denying nihilists, that's what they believe in. What they actually espouse is not doctrinal, it's not logical, it's nonsensical. You know, you can mention all these things that contradict the nonsense that they believe in. They say, well, anatta is original to Buddhism. Buddhism taught there was no soul. You could even find this on Wikipedia and Encyclopedia Britannica. And what they'll do is they'll not quote doctrine because there is no doctrine that they can quote. To take this position, what they'll do is they'll quote a miserable little commentary book. You know, Zen Master Bada Bing or, you know, some other nonsense was written that says there is no soul. And that is what and I've looked at their references. Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia, these other places, and I've been doing this for decades. They can never quote doctrine to support that nonsense because it is non-doctrinal. It's ridiculous. You know, whether you be a Christian or not, for example, at least the Christians know. It's like, I don't think that's true. Let's see what the Bible has to say. Because we're talking about Christianity or even Judaism. Let's see what the Bible actually says. See, even any Christian would do that, but a Buddhist will never quote doctrine. It's almost like it is holy water to a vampire. They don't dare touch that stuff. No, 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 no. Why would I quote doctrine when I can quote Zen Master Bada Bing? You know, I've got this little silly commentary book right here, and right here he says the word anatomy. I'm not interested in what he thinks. I'm interested in what doctrine actually says, because we're supposed to be discussing what Buddhism does or does not teach, not what Zen Master Bada Bing says over here. These two are not the same thing. We're supposed to be discussing, well, I'm discussing Buddhism. It's like, no, you're not. You're discussing commentarial garbage written by somebody like 50 years ago in some little silly book you find on Amazon.com. You know, if we're going to discuss Buddhism, then we're going to discuss actually what it teaches in its own teachings, and lacking a time machine. And thankfully, the Nikayas are pre-sectarian. Yeah, there's a great little word, pre-sectarian. Yeah, pre-sectarian. Very lovely word. In other words, it existed before all those sectarian divisions existed. Those yellow-robed guys running around Southeast Asia, they are not original to Buddhism. They don't actually follow the teachings of Buddhism. What they follow is this neat book called Abhidhamma. It was written, and there was 27 different versions of Abhidhamma, and it was written many, many centuries later. Yeah. I've debated these people for decades. They have nothing intelligent to say. Nothing they say is supported in doctrine. Nothing. They cannot defend the nonsense that they espouse. It is impossible for them to do so. Atta vasrati, the soul is charioteer. Yeah, bhavanirodhana bandham, subjugation of becoming. Who is doing the subjugating? Yeah, who is the liberate? Who works for whose own good? There is followers, an unborn and unmade. If there were not, there would be no escape from the born and the formed. That's Udana 81. So, Attasrana annanasranam, attadipa viharati, dwell with the soul as light, with the soul as refuge, and none other as refuge. Yeah, there's no such thing as taking refuge in the psychophysical. Yeah. Nirvana is not a thing or a place. Nirvana is a state of liberation, of complete disobjectification. That's the theurgy as meant where none no longer identifies with the psychophysical. Isakaya namisata is the most repeated passage in ancient Pali. Over and over again occurs hundreds of times. What does that mean? It means this body, as meant the psychophysical, is not the soul. You see, there's no passage in doctrine that says, I'm going to just like make up something here, and that's what these people think. You know, startlingly, you know, if Buddhism were pithy, and it is really pithy, the doctrine is. Followers, there's no soul. What about this? Oh, no, there's no soul. Well, what about, no, there's no soul. Well, what? There's no such passage. There's 1,000 positive appellations about the soul in doctrine. There is no single passage in any translation where it's asked about the soul. Yeah, there's no soul. Nope, there's no soul. Nope. You would not state the 27 things that are not the soul. Rupa nata, Veda nata. There's 27 things that are over and over again. That's not the soul, that's not the soul, that's not the... You would not do that if you had a half a brain. You would not say, this isn't the soul, that's not the soul, this isn't... You'd say, no soul. Well, what about the no? There's no soul, period. No, I don't want to know. There's no soul. These people are not smart. Not smart at all. If I had a little too much fun making this video, I apologize. It startles me to my core. You know, I'm fat and tattooed and bald, yeah. But I wouldn't trade, you know, being like 30 years younger with hair and great shape or whatever for the stupidity and ignorance these people suffer with from birth right to their last breath. I mean, I wouldn't trade it at all. That's sort of... And ignorance is bliss until it bites you in the butt. But these people are so ignorant, they don't think at all. Their brain doesn't work. Their brain has never been in gear. It's been in idle mode their entire life. They don't think, they don't know how to think. I'm certain they don't know how to think. They regurgitate garbage they're told to believe in. and they can't debate this topic to save their life. Not even a bit. There's a million ways to debate and attack this subject. And at every single angle, vector of discussion of this topic, they always fail. I've debated the best. I've debated Bhikkhu Bodhi. He's considered the best. I've caught his mistranslations. I've caught hundreds of his mistranslations. He's not the best. He conceded to me when I debated him on a horrible mistranslation, where he translated Maradama as subject to Mara. You see, if you admit only to the psychophysical, then the psychophysical must be the locus of purification and transcendence. But that's completely impossible. So when the psychophysical is called Maradama, basically the nexus of evil, or the prakriti, or principle, or essa of evil, you can't also, too, have that as the locus of transcendence. They're self-contradictory. Nothing they say is wise or intelligent. It's not doctrinal. It's insensible and undefensible. Anyway, I'll leave it there. If you like these videos, any donation is warmly welcome. Or always, let me know if you're up to a debate on this topic. I love debating this topic. And I could do it with my eyes closed and half asleep, because I've been doing it for decades, and there's literally nobody else on this earth that knows more about the topic and context of the Nada and this topic of original Buddhism. Not even a single person alive on this earth comes close. If you think that's egotistical, I don't care. It's still accurate. So, thanks for watching.